Hey everyone. When did $20 billion become a drop in the bucket? In today's AI world, it is. You're watching Techstrong Gang. Hi everyone, it's Alan Shimel here for Techstrong and Techstrong Gang. I'm up in Atlanta, as is Guy Currier, who's joining us today on the gang. And a lot of our crew is actually en route to Atlanta. So we have a thin gang today, but it's a question of quality over quantity. And let me introduce you to our gang members. I already said Guy is with us, and joining us, not from Atlanta, unfortunately, though we'd love to see her in person here, Kate Scarcella. Hey, Kate, how are you?
Doing well, doing very well, thank you.
Actually, well, you're up north. I was gonna say you don't want to be in Atlanta. It's like 32 degrees here. Um, but it may be just as cold where you are.
It's not 32, so
Oh, okay. Yeah,
it's
then you don't
Well,
want to
just
be
give
here.
it a minute.
Give it a minute.
that's
Well,
what they
I
say. Yeah.
I hear it's gonna be 40 degrees down home in Florida today, talking to my wife earlier. So it's cold, cold. Winter's here. Winter has come. Uh, um, so guys, we've got some interesting stuff to talk about. Surprisingly, none of it KubeCon related, but we'll be doing KubeCon all week. You'll have KubeCon related Textron gangs tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So let's stay off the KubeCon for now, though. I'll give you a quick thing. But Guy, our first story today involves our friend Sam Altman, and I really got to
Your
give
friend,
him.
not my
You
friend.
know, he wins the Steve Jobs Award, though. All he needs is a black turtleneck because
Well,
he's
minus the
a
product
salesman.
talent, but yeah, continue.
Oh, absolutely. But in terms of pulling the strings and playing the markets like a Stradivarius, he's gotten pretty damn good at it. Um, anyway, he's out here touting that OpenAI is going to do $20 billion in revenue. And you know what? 3, 4 years ago, we would have given a crap. But in today's world where we talk trillions, 20 billion ain't cutting it.
Feels like 20 million, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Well, and also when you think about, I think he's pledged OpenAI for like 1 point something trillion dollars in data center and chip and so forth.
1.4 trillion.
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, let's take just a quick step back. I'm not known for being quick, but I'll give it a shot. OpenAI publishes ChatGPT or the GPT model. Wildly successful, no doubt about that, starting November 23rd with 3.5. But how did they do it? They did it two ways. One was the really important transform, which was the trick that allowed for the training that you need for this AI that looks and not smells, but looks and feels like chatting with a real person. So the transform trick was really important. But then they threw gobs and gobs and gobs and gobs of data at it. The whole internet, proverbially speaking, they threw the whole internet at it to train. But they couldn't do that without, I'm going to say the N word, NVIDIA GPUs, and many of them. So fast forward to today, and using this methodology of throwing gobs and gobs and gobs of data at a whole ton of compute, that is the model being followed for training foundational models. I use model in that's the paradigm. Are there others? Probably. DeepSeek probably showed another way. There are definitely other ways to train. I'm a big fan of data curation, but none of this seems to move markets in any way. And so Altman's been going around for 2 years roughly now. It started with the $1 trillion chip in my estimation, and continued with kissing the butt of this US administration in order to forge public-private partnerships, um, pledging $1.4 trillion in data center build-outs over the next 3 years or something like that. And when you look at that, yeah, $20 billion in revenue does not sound like it's gonna get you to enough financing to build those data centers to keep that model going. So I won't go through all of this to try and give us some perspective, especially with a little bit of seeming shakiness in the global economy and the US economy in particular. And I want to remind everybody about how bubbles work, which is that during the elation period, everybody is focusing on what's really great. And don't get me wrong, AI is great. And for what it's worth, OpenAI is also great, although I don't think they're going to win in the end. And people aren't thinking about the inevitable concern, problem, doubts among the people who are going to, in the end, fund all this, which are the businesses shelling out money to use these foundational models. So, great. $20 billion in revenue, great. Pledging to build all these data centers, I don't know if that's so great because they need to be efficient, they need to work well, and they just lead to more, I would say, fear, uncertainty, and doubt ultimately. But in the meantime, Altman stays famous, keeps making money, keeps hoovering up funds and resources. So that's my perspective.
And I will say it's not just Altman. All of the OpenAI exec team over at the nonprofit there um, are doing pretty well in terms of their own comp.
Nonprofit.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah. But here's the point of this all, I think. As you say, 20 billion, great. But they're still going to post, I think, a much larger loss than that. So 20 billion on the top line, but the bottom line is going to be much, much larger than 20 billion. And the 1.4 trillion in pledged projects that they're involved in. And so a lot of people are looking at this and saying, hey, the only way this is going to work is the government's got to back them out because maybe OpenAI is too big to fail. And we know how much the administration loves their AI players, especially US-based AI players. And so who's sending them their snap cards, whether the government shut down or not, right? And this is, this is the question. And in the article that this is based on, some folks from the government, including the czar, the AI czar or whatever in this space, said, look, there are 4 or 5 frontier models here in the US. We're not wed to OpenAI. We're not wed to OpenAI. However, if OpenAI didn't get the revenue that it's going to need to do what it's pledged to do, it will create a crater in the AI landscape, I think. But we've had craters on Earth before. Kate, go ahead.
Yeah. So you use the word however, right? Nice transition there. In the article, they wrote specifically or talked about backstop. They used the word backstop. And that just sort of highlighted for me the entire article. Not a bailout, not ownership. But for me, it just makes me so uneasy when I hear about government involvement and AI. And as a Gen Xer who grew up in Cleveland, and this might be this crazy parallel here, but I remember Mayor Dennis Kucinich, who refused to sell Cleveland's public-owned electric utility, and people in Cleveland just went nuts. It was as if like the Browns made it to the Super Bowl or something. I mean, it was that type of nuttiness.
Nothing would be that big.
But in all due seriousness, the moment taxpayer money or public ownership enters the picture, the conversation stops being about what's best, best long term, and shifts to which side are you on. And that's what I remember. And so now when we're talking about taxpayer money and AI, it really concerns me that we leave the model. I mean, for the United States overall, and we have always come out on top because we believe in in fair in this fair market, like what's best. And I don't like where I see this going at all. At the end of the day, it concerns me a great deal. And yeah, I worry. I worry about this because I still believe that we don't see I love AI, but I don't think we are looking at truly the right players yet. And so it scares me,
Look,
quite
I will
frankly.
tell you this though, Altman's transparent. He said all along they're going to need $4 to $6 trillion or some number like that to recognize all of his AI dreams or fantasies or nightmares or whatever you want to call them. And because his vision of what OpenAI is much broader than just ChatGPT. They want to make their own chips and take NVIDIA out of that equation. They want to own their own data centers.
But why should we pay for that? Do you I don't understand that.
Oh, 100%, Kate. So listen, too big to fail. You use the phrase too big to fail. Government backstop, whatever you want to call it. I would say that a public utility in a metro, and by the way, I'm sorry Stephen Foskett couldn't join us today, Kate. I didn't understand the Cleveland connection until just now.
Don't say
Um,
anything about Cleveland.
but there's public competition in public utilities, at least for distribution. That's a tough for on just on an efficiency basis, a tough argument to make. But I mean, come on. There's Cohere. There just in the private sector. There's Cohere. There's Anthropic. Microsoft's building one. There's Gemini. I mean, there's a cajillion frontier foundation models out there. Well, maybe not that many, but plenty, plenty. There's Grok. Okay, so if there wouldn't be a crater, Alan, if OpenAI exploded and ChatGPT disappeared. First of all, ChatGPT would not, or GPT, I should say, would not disappear. It would get picked up by somebody else and used. So no, there's the only thing that makes it too big to fail. Hold on, the only thing that makes it too big to fail, and this is candy for you. That's why I interrupted you, is that under the current government paradigm here, if you grease the right palms and pay off and bribe the right people, then you become too big to fail and you get your backstop only because of the grift.
I'm not going to take that bait. So 1.4 trillion dollars pledged to other companies. I mean, Oracle stock went up by a third. A lot of it based on this huge OpenAI deal where they're going to house a lot of the OpenAI infrastructure.
But
Same with
how did they
Google,
get that
38
deal?
billion. It's circle jerk money.
Yeah, but it's playing the odds though. Come on, we're talking about the stock market or the equities market. That's it's playing the odds. People will buy it up now, and then in 2 years, if it looks like there's gonna be a regime change here in the US or whatever, or if there's the backlash starting, then they'll sell it off and short it and so on and so on. It's sports betting.
It is. Right. Sports betting.
It is. And I think, make no mistake, under the present administration's model is they take a stake in these companies, not like the TARP model during the Great Recession, where the idea all along was to sell back the equity.
Totally different scenario.
These guys
Totally
wanted,
different
yeah,
scenario.
they want to take a stake in it because they want to play the market too. This is a casino, and the government's going to have its place at the crap table,
Right.
and pray we don't roll sevens.
Or at
But
least the family that's
yeah,
presiding over the government,
And
yes.
that's the point. I mean, what
And its
Guy, what
court
you're saying, it's awful what's happening, and winners are being picked with taxpayer money. We're freezing the market. We're shrinking imagination, And
Well, we're
in my
shrinking
opinion,
innovation, I believe. I mean, this was the butt of my shimmy says last Thursday in an article I wrote about Tech Heal Thyself. We we need we need a tech industry where 2 guys in a garage can change the world,
totally.
not someone who gets $100 billion from the US government for a 10% stake.
Absolutely. Where, ideology is replacing innovation, and that's gonna lead us down to bankruptcy as a
So if you're
nation.
watching this and you're wondering how this applies to you, because outside of where you're going to invest money or buy stocks or whatever, you actually are a business trying to figure out if there is an AI to bet on, or if your investment in OpenAI as a for company use or organizational use is good or bad or whatever. I just want to say don't get too elated, but also don't worry too much. Just be happy. Use what you've got. It's gonna be far easier to yes, it's gonna be far easier to switch models. I mean, you can already do that with half the services that people use, like Perplexity or what have you. It's gonna be far easier to switch models, um, if OpenAI goes up in flames or whatever, than a lot of than like, the cloud stickiness that we had to deal with and so forth, or still have to deal with.
Agreed. Hey, you wanna take the last word?
Just I think what is best is let's not, as Guy just said, I hope that we can definitely, beyond any doubt, have a lot of choices at the end of the day because that's what has always made us great, is having innovation, imagination, innovation. This is what we need today. So don't worry and be happy.
To paraphrase Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park, and I did it in my shimmy says, where he says, "Life will find a way. Innovation will find a way too. They'll figure it out." All right, let's take a break. We're gonna come back and talk. Look, this AI craziness isn't just here in the US. Europe has it too. You're watching Techstrong, gang.
You've earned it. The spotlight, the responsibility, the weight of teams, companies, and entire industries fall on your shoulders. Lives depend on your decisions, your home life included. At work, you're protected, physically and digitally. Nothing gets through your team without a fight. But in a globally connected world, everyone sees you, including those who mean to cause you and your organization harm. And now home, your sanctuary. Attackers see an opportunity. Your digital front door is wide open. And what compromises your home can breach your boardroom. Because the devil's greatest trick isn't targeting your workplace firewall. It's convincing you that your personal life isn't at risk. Black Cloak. Digital executive protection, defending the new attack surface. Your personal life.
Hey, everyone. Thanks. We're back here in Techstrong, gang. We're going to go to our B block. It's actually sort of related to A block in that it's around AI and infrastructure and booms and bust or potential bust and what have you. Um, there's a report over on Techstrong IT that the AI data center building boom is not confined just to the US, but in fact, in the EU and the rest of Europe, they're on a quest for IT sovereignty, data center sovereignty, AI sovereignty. And so they're in their own boom of building out data centers, AI factories, whatever you want to call them. And all of the requisite pieces that go with that power generation, cooling, finding unique and novel places to build these things, like above the Arctic Circle, under the sea, in space. I don't know. In the mouth of a volcano next, maybe. I'm not quite sure. But this
Mount
is
Doom, perhaps? Sorry.
yes, exactly. Um, this is this isn't just a US thing. The EU's, going through the same thing. And I think all of the caveats that apply that we just spoke about and potential craters and all of this, uh, Europe's faced with the same thing, maybe on a slightly smaller scale, but it's the same thing. Guys, what do you think?
Well, for me, I saw Block A more around legacy, and Block B, what we're talking about as far as them looking into the future. I think having another cable going across, the bottom of the ocean is good. I think we're now right now we're not gonna have a choke point. And I think by building more into Europe, we're creating resilience. And I think that Europe is doing things that I think a little bit different. More like I would have seen in the United States, where they're sort of looking at different technologies and they seem to be more open to not just this one. And hey, Grok, this, I like it. And I think that, you see more players in Europe, and I really like that. And I see more of a common sense on how they're building it. Like I said, the cable on the bottom, they're getting rid of these possible choke points, and I think that's good.
You're referring, Kate, to the Amazon AWS 320 terabit per second cable they announced. Transatlantic, it's not going to come online for about 3 years.
But they're starting.
There's no so it's like two stories. One is this sovereignty idea, building out of data centers of various kinds, neoclouds. Europe is a hotbed of neocloud activity, both in terms of innovation and diversity, like a lot of different companies, but also in terms of activity. But it's not just neoclouds. It's a lot of data center build outs, and that's one thing. And then the other thing is this connectivity side, symbolized by the Amazon cable. I want to talk more about the first. I think that the continuing build out of the global network, even privately led, like with Amazon, is an inevitability, and it will never be fast enough. And never's a long word. I don't like to use it, but I don't think we're going to really have like the dark fiber scenario that we had when Akamai, followed the original .com bubble by laying so much fiber. I think that the data needs are so exponentially large right now that there's no way the global network can keep up. But just to say a word on the preferred topic for me, which is this European build out. I don't like to use another phrase, perfect storm, but there are just so many factors driving European governments and European companies to do these build outs. The network is one, but the crumbling of globalization, where it's becoming more and more each nation for itself, especially in terms of strategic technologies. And it's pretty clear that no one wants AI to become strategic and not own or control some of it, as well as information flows and a desire to stay a little bit distant from the US orbit. Alan, I don't think that it's smaller. I think that if it's smaller now, it's just going to get bigger, because Europe is now the probably the better environment for global innovation than the U.S., which may only be temporary. I think it's only going to be temporary, but for the moment, it's made everyone really mindful of being able to own their own stuff, to use a different S word than only came to mind.
No, Guy, you're right. The sovereignty issue for Europe is huge because, I mean, the head of Microsoft France testified to the French government that even though they operate data centers in France, if the US government asked them to pull some information from a data center, from data that was hosted in a data center
Oh,
in
yes,
France,
that's right.
they would do it. And that scared the hell out of the Europeans. And so you have, like, my friend Andreas Prince, who's now the head of IT sovereignty at SUSE, where they're building European data centers staffed by Europeans on European soil and totally independent. But guys, I have another article I just read. I mentioned that innovation will find a way, Shimmy says in an article. But there's another article that I think will be out by the time this airs on Tuesday morning. And that is around all your data centers are dead. Because here's the, and I this isn't my idea. I got it from a guy named Guy Mallory, not you, Guy, a different guy, who is with Comscope over in London. It was a LinkedIn post and series he worked on. So here's the deal. Your average data center is set up to handle, I think it's a 10 megawatt rack. Does that make sense to you, Guy? I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
On this.
10 megawatt.
10 megawatt.
No, not megawatt. Kilowatt.
Watts. 10
kilowatt.
kilowatts. Yeah, 10 kilowatts.
10 kilowatt. 10 to 15. Pretty average right now.
Is the rack.
The specs, let me just get ahead of you a little bit. The specs, like the top of the line specs right now is a 1 megawatt rack. The most advanced specs that's being promoted by the Open Compute Foundation, led by Facebook. Yeah.
The new OpenAI racks is it megawatt or?
I think those are in the 250 to 500 kilowatt range, which is just enormous, by the way. I'm just referring,
So
if you say OpenAI, I think you mean OpenRack. I think you mean OpenRack, right?
And no, NVIDIA, the NVIDIA racks of the new NVIDIA.
They're also, so yeah, right. So the biggest racks getting put into production right now, just getting put into production right now, whether open or not, are in the 200 to 400 kilowatt range, maybe a little higher.
Look,
which is an enormous amount of power.
Size matters. But here's the point. Whatever it is, 10 kilowatt, megawatt, gigawatt,
It matters to the data center people, but go ahead.
No, it does. The important thing is it is exponentially way more than every data center we have now can handle. We can't handle the power. We can't handle the heat it throws off, and we don't have in place what we need to cool them down. So if you're just going to run legacy payloads in your old data centers, that's okay. But how long are you just going to run legacy crap without moving forward? And so if you're going to move forward, these data centers are useless. You can't, you're talking about retooling them. You got to bring in 10x, 15x, 20x more power. You've got to, it's akin, this guy, Mallory said, it's akin to trying to cool a volcano down with a desktop fan. Or, you're just not.
Right. I agree. Absolutely. Guy, with what Alan is saying, because we continue to build on what we don't even know yet. We're building as if we're still thinking legacy, but we have no idea what the AI chips can actually really do yet. And we're building yesterday's infrastructure.
And we don't have, right, even things designed today are probably going to be obsolete by the time they're built.
Probably, yeah. 3 years, like, I don't even think we can look 3 years. I think we're talking like 3 months, 6 months. The speed at which we are able to innovate, if we're allowed to truly innovate, I feel like the potential truly is exponential. I feel like we have no idea yet of what we're actually looking at.
I don't think that we need the fastest and the biggest for innovation. I think innovation is kind of, I like you quoting Jurassic Park, Alan. Innovation finds a way. And part of innovation is the DeepSeek type innovation, which seems to get more from less. My theory about DeepSeek was that rather than using bigger systems and more data, they use one commodity that China has in abundance, which is people, to do a fair amount of curation and massaging of the data used to train. And the white paper that was published to support what they did doesn't really contradict that. It doesn't highlight it, so I could be completely wrong. But let me give you a perspective that from the data center manager and data center architect's perspective. I've talked to a fair number of customers about this over the last several months, and they are they absolutely have their sights on, especially the bigger ones, the ones providing service to other companies, whether they're service providers themselves or associations or in finance or those industries, and telco where they need to provide service to wide ranges of customers at scale. They're absolutely looking at denser, higher power environments using direct liquid cooling or even fancy stuff like immersion cooling, hybrid cooling. Um, and they are largely doing this in existing data centers, where they can increase the power availability, but mostly free up a lot of space for more standard systems that are now less expensive that can run their standard workloads. And let me remind everybody that 95 to 98% of the application estate in a typical enterprise is not running an AI workload or not running one at scale. And the real place where this high density and very high power draw racks and so forth is needed is for running um, either training or for inference for at a large scale for AI. And those applications are relatively rare still. They're just huge and amazing and incredible, and they have a really wide impact, so they get all the press. So color me extremely doubtful that this is going to be a stifling of innovation around AI.
I'm not saying it's gonna be a stifling of innovation. I am saying when you look at the $3 trillion that appears to be earmarked for AI factory and AI data center build outs over the next 3 years or whatever it is, you could understand that if yes, today the applications are rare compared to legacy, but if you buy into the curve of AI adoption and disruption, 3 trillion may not be enough because, what's our legacy data center footprint that may or may not be out obsolete? And and this is a lot like a moon mission where we're counting on inventing technologies that don't yet exist. Right? And I'm not talking about Tang, right? But, um,
So what did you say, 3 trillion over 3 years, something
something
like
like
that?
that, yes,
Yeah, that's a
2.8.
huge amount of money. It's less than 1% per year of the annual global economy, and it is going to be it's shifting so overall IT spending should go up. The share of it towards AI training and large scale inference that all these data centers and these high density build outs are needed for is also gonna go up. Overall impact, I would say minimal. I just wanna put it in perspective. I'm obviously the doubter in this conversation. I'm not, there absolutely will be an issue with capacity. There won't be enough high density.
If 3 trillion's not a big number to you, can you give me some?
Yeah, 20,000,000,000.
20,000,000,000, I'd take 20,000,000,000 right now. I'll even give you 10% of the company.
It's so hard to have perspective on. I agree with you. It's so hard to have perspective on these things these days because, yeah, hey, listen, a half a mil, like if a half a mil fell off of the OpenAI truck, Sam Altman wouldn't even get a fever. He wouldn't even get a low grade fever. And I would be set. I would be so happy if I could just pick that up. But we do need to put it in perspective to understand its ultimate impact on us and the organizations where we work.
Yeah. I just look, I think it is a giant gravity sink that's pulling money out, and part of it is
Our mind share, Alan, our
no, no,
mind
no,
share. It's
but no,
not the
no, no,
money so
Guy. Yeah, there is mind share, but part of it is if we buy into having to do this, and this goes back to my innovation will find a way. If we buy into having to do this to support our AI future, versus finding better, cheaper, faster innovation. This stifles the
Absolutely.
innovation,
Alan, you're
right?
absolutely right.
Instead of saying, let's just keep throwing more money on the bonfire and we'll put some banned books on there too so we get a bigger flame, right? Instead of doing that, we should be saying, what did those Chinese guys do? There might be something to that. We should look at other things.
Context, right?
Yep.
Over, yeah.
How can we use our existing data centers for this?
So let me wind up my own thoughts on this by being much less negative, which is that I think both are true at the same time. I think that there's really no way for capacity to meet demand over the next 3 years, just like you guys say. There is no way to build enough high density compute. Maybe in the 3-month window, like you're saying, Kate, organizations and users are going to feel it. But that in turn is what is going to drive the let's call it the Chinese innovation that you were just alluding to, Alan, which is creative and interesting ways to get real value out of less dense, let's say, out of the capacity that is available in plain old. Remember plain old telephone service POTS? Let's call it the plain old data center POT.
I get it. We get it. Hey, we're out of time for this one. We've still got another block we're gonna do. So let's take a break. Okay, we're gonna come back to you and let's talk about something mundane like cybersecurity and AI. You're watching Techstrong, gang.
Discover Techstrong Group, the epicenter of tech innovation. We're your go-to for reaching IT leaders and practitioners worldwide. Our secret? Impactful content that sparks awareness, engagement, and top-quality leads. With us, you'll access editorial websites, streaming videos, virtual events, custom content, analyst research, and more. Join our satisfied clients. Let's revolutionize your tech journey. Contact us today and tell your story to the world in the most powerful way with Techstrong Group.
Hey everyone, we're back here for our third and final segment on today's gang. There's a recent story up over on Security Boulevard about a survey from Cycode, surveying executives on, I don't know if I call it paranoia, but maybe their fears around, the risk tied to AI generated code and whether that AI generated code is, totally AI generated or let's call it human assisted. We're turning out more code than we ever did. And we're turning out, some say, more vulnerabilities than we ever did. Kate, why don't you kick us off on this? What do you think?
Yeah. So just highlight more vulnerabilities. So 2024, we saw 40,000 software vulnerabilities. That's the highest that we've seen as we have tracked. So talk about, trending in data. So 400 cybersecurity leaders in the US and UK revealed 100% of the firms have begun using AI generated code in their code bases. 65% of these respondents say that they've seen an increase in vulnerabilities since doing so. And so the data point here, which is striking, is that while AI boosts productivity, quality, and speed, but there's no centralized governance around AI adoption. So from a cybersecurity point of view, that's really, really scary. So I actually did an article where I was talking about the LLM being, the new cybersecurity plague of this digital renaissance 2.0, as we have gone into the industrial 5.0 new, revolution here. And what I will say is that LLMs can be and are being used as new attack vectors. So while mass AI code generation with sparse governance, we are creating this hidden technical debt that is threatening resilience and trust. So while I look at the blocks that we covered today, with block A being around anchoring legacy and block B was about building foundational infrastructure, it's nice to highlight, and it's unfortunate, but it's typical that cybersecurity comes in at the end. It kills me, just kills me. But this is our warning light, that even the best infrastructure and funding won't matter if what we're building is structurally weak and ungoverned. So, what do you guys think, Alan, Guy?
Guy, you want to go first? You want me to jump in here? I have some thoughts.
Well, let me start by being that guy who points out that while this is a great survey, I think it was conducted either by IDG or IDC, both perfectly reputable for research firms, able to conduct great market research, and they had 400 respondents. They weren't all leaders. They're described as CISOs and security practitioners. I think that actually makes it better if you're understanding people who are, as both on the strategic side of things as well as the tactical day-to-day side of things, and that's encouraging. What really struck me out of the survey results was that 8 out of 10 of the respondents say that their organizations lack visibility into how AI is being used in app dev. There are easily 10 ways to use AI in app dev. It's not all about just coding. And I guess if there are 10 ways, then there's probably 100 vulnerabilities being introduced or potentially being introduced just on a broad category basis. But the visibility, I think it starts with that lack of visibility, very much so. I don't think it's quite possible, in most organizations to tamp AI-based code generation down by individual developers using whatever the freaking tool they want to use. I think there's a great push right now towards integrating preferred and guardrailed AI into code development, if we're just going to talk about that, to encourage developers to use that because it's easier for them because it's part of the IDE or part of the workflow. But 8 out of 10, that's just
Sounds like a Crest commercial.
well, except in the inverse, instead of 8 out of 10 dentists recommend, it's 8 out of 10 security professionals are saying, stop. We don't know what's going on.
Well, so I have some thoughts here. First of all, I find it amazing that 100% of respondents say their organizations are using AI in generating code, even if that number's wrong and it's only 95%. That is just phenomenal. I've got an article out yesterday and today, or Monday, excuse me, and I posted a LinkedIn article Sunday on it about AI use in journalism and media. And right in the second line, I think I said, any media or journalist company who tells you they're not using AI is lying. They are.
This points to the quality, in my opinion, points to the quality of the survey, not just the 8 out of 10, but because any security professional who is not saying that AI is being used at their company to code is just
out of touch. Right, out of touch.
Yeah, not the kind of person you want to serve.
Sleeping at the wheel. But here's the thing. As counterintuitive as this may sound, the only thing that's going to save us from this is AI.
No, and I agree. I think that we need to understand that we're all using it. And we need to embrace this and start to, we really desperately need to embrace it and secure it right now.
Yeah.
There's no
I mean,
confusion.
because here's the thing, Kate, what you said is 100% correct. Security is always the caboose.
Yeah,
Security is always the afterthought.
It's like,
And they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop using AI to generate code because the security guy is holding his breath and turning red.
right.
Or the security gal is stomping her feet and having a
Yeah.
hissy fit.
Yeah.
It's not
It
happening.
it's like
Train's
bring
left the
your own device.
station. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
BYOD, right, it's not. It's
it's like
train's left the station.
yeah,
So instead, we've gotta turn AI into our friend. We've got to turn AI
100%.
into
AI
how
is
to
our friend. Yeah, he is our friend already, Alan.
well, it's my friend. It's funny, I think of AI as a guy and not a gal. I wonder why that is. Like, my car is a female, but I always think of AI. Do you guys, what do you think? Kate, do you think of or do you AI
You
doesn't
know,
have a
with all
gender to
well,
you?
with all of my, it's funny that you should mention that because I thought with all of my AI assistants, I actually name them per the device. Like my little shark robot that vacuums, I actually just call it vacuum. Like I
Really?
don't personify
You
the
don't
AI.
genderize or
I
anything?
don't. I don't know why
God,
that
what
is.
about you?
Well, I think generative AI, there's no doubt that it's a white man because the data sets used to train it,
Yeah,
the data sets
okay.
used to train it were biased towards white male
Fair
perspective.
enough.
So,
Fair enough.
I
But
mean, I actually, that is a serious point as well. So let me not just
Well,
toss that off as a joke. It's a serious point as well.
mhm, it is. It is. Goes
but
to the
we are
patriarchy.
understanding that, right? I mean, for
Yeah.
we do understand that there's bias. We've been trying to deal with bias
No, we
since
don't
actually 10
understand
years.
that, Kate. You and I and Alan understand it, and a certain elite of the people watching this stuff understand it. But
The
I'm sorry.
coastals.
As a general rule, no, I don't think people understand the bias. People,
Crazy.
users,
Well, maybe
coders,
we start to add that into our security config.
Yeah.
Honestly,
should do,
you know,
should do. Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. I do believe AI can help itself to generate more secure code,
I agree.
to find vulnerabilities and fix them,
Mm.
because it's the only way we're gonna be able to do that at scale.
And even within GitHub, I mean, wouldn't it be, one of the problems that we have with the 40,000 vulnerabilities that I mentioned is that we keep reusing code that we know is vulnerable. When do we start to get rid of and really seriously debloat legacy code? I mean, come on. It's time, people. It's time.
Agreed, agreed, agreed. I think that so I'm not saying their paranoia is not valid.
It is, but we always have to name it first, right? We always have to name whatever. If I hear visibility one more time, though, I mean that also. I'm really tired of the visibility story. This whole single pane of glass, this unicorn that we're chasing. Cybersecurity folks. Yeah, it
Can I give you a little corrective, Kate, and I didn't make it up. It's very old, to single pane of glass, because I get an allergic reaction to that too. The phrase I like, which I think Forrester originated about 20 years ago, is preferred pane of glass or preferred workspace. Because if you prefer to have 12, what you want, maybe you have 12 modes in where you work, and when you're in mode, what you want lots of data to be running across all those different areas. It's true in observability, visibility, threat detection, that sort of thing as well. I think you want to be able to use the pane of glass that suits you best, even if the data there is also in two other panes of glass that you use. So I think preferred pane of glass is
Fair
sure.
enough.
is a nice
Fair
corrective.
enough.
And when you walk into a SOC, right? I mean, that's what you have are all these panes of
Absolutely.
of
And
I
big
stay out of
screens.
stocks myself, but
We try. Anyway, hey guys, we're overtime. Looking at my clock here, I see we ran over. Imagine that. Just the three of us. We could probably do this all day, but I got to pull the plug. I got to run over to KubeCon and get busy there. Guy, I'll see you in a little bit, I hope. Kate, thank you so much for joining. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching. We are going to be live from KubeCon today. So check that out. We'll be streaming live later in the day, and then we'll be doing Techstrong Gang the rest of the week from KubeCon.
and if I may say, also, we are already streaming live on LinkedIn right now for Tech Field Day exclusive at KubeCon, which I am also participating in, although I'm going to be changing shirts before I go back there.
Very cool. All right. Until then, Kate, Guy, thank you. Thank you for watching. This is Alan Shimel. We're out.